There is a kind of pain that does not only hurt your heart, it changes the way you see your whole life. It does not arrive like normal sadness. It does not simply make you tired for a few days and then leave. It enters quietly, then begins to touch every part of your identity. The goals that once excited you start feeling empty. The people you once chased no longer feel worth losing yourself for. The beliefs that once gave you certainty begin to feel too small for the questions growing inside you. This is why the dark night of the soul is so misunderstood. Most people think it turns you into a stronger person, but that is not the full truth. Before it gives you strength, it takes away the version of you that was surviving through fear, approval, control, and old pain. It first turns you into someone you do not recognize. And that is the part most people never talk about. The dark night does not begin by giving you peace. It begins by removing the false peace you were clinging to. It shows you where you were pretending. It shows you where you were smiling while breaking inside. It shows you where you kept accepting less only because you were afraid of losing what was familiar. And once those truths rise to the surface, you cannot go back to sleep the same way. In this video, we will explain what the dark night of the soul actually turns you into. Not the romantic version, not the shallow internet version that makes pain sound beautiful. The real version, the painful version. The version where your old life stops making sense, your old identity becomes heavy, and your soul starts demanding truth instead of comfort. You will learn why this season often feels like a loss of meaning, why it can make your old personality feel distant, and why this deep inner collapse can become the beginning of a more honest life. You will also understand why many people mistake this process for weakness, when in reality it can be the moment the false self finally stops controlling the real one. The reason you should watch until the end is simple. The final stage of this journey is not darkness, it is clarity. But clarity does not come before the breaking. It comes after you stop running from what the breaking is trying to reveal. The dark night may make you quieter. It may make you more sensitive. It may make you less interested in proving yourself to the world. But it also teaches you how to see through illusions, how to stop begging for love, and how to rebuild your life from truth instead of fear. So stay with this video until the end, because the person who comes out of this season is not the same person who entered it. Welcome to our channel. If you want calm, deep, and honest videos about inner healing, self-awareness, and human transformation, subscribe now and become part of this journey. The first thing the dark night of the soul does is remove the mask, not gently, not in a way that feels inspiring at first. It begins by making the old performance feel impossible. Before this season, a person may live through roles without even noticing it. They become the strong one, the quiet one, the useful one, the pleasing one, the one who never complains, the one who keeps everything together. They smile when their heart is tired. They answer messages when they want to disappear. They forgive too quickly because they fear being left. They call their silence maturity, even when it is really self-abandonment. They call their exhaustion discipline, even when it is really fear. They call survival peace because they have never known what real peace feels like. But the dark night begins to disturb that pattern. It makes fake peace feel unbearable. It makes shallow conversations feel heavy. It makes old relationships feel different. It makes the person notice how often they have been betraying their own truth just to stay accepted. This is why the beginning feels so painful. The person is not only facing sadness, they are facing the truth of how much of their life was built around being approved by others. The false self starts to crack. The part of them that learned how to be liked begins to lose power. The part of them that learned how to stay quiet begins to feel tired. The part of them that kept saying, "I am fine," begins to refuse the lie. This does not always look dramatic from the outside. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like a person losing interest in things they used to tolerate. But inside, a much deeper change is happening. They are beginning to understand that honesty is not only telling the truth to others. Honesty is finally admitting the truth to yourself. It is admitting that certain rooms make you shrink, certain people drain your spirit, certain dreams were never yours, certain versions of love were only attachment dressed as devotion. During the dark night, pretending becomes too expensive. The person can no longer keep paying with their own soul, so they stop performing. Slowly, painfully, they begin to choose truth over comfort. And this is the first transformation. The dark night turns them into someone who can no longer live as a character in a story written by fear. Once the mask begins to fall, the next stage is questioning. This is one of the most frightening parts of the dark night of the soul because it does not only question small things, it questions the whole structure of life. The person starts looking at beliefs they once defended and wonders if those beliefs were truly alive or only inherited. They look at dreams they chased for years and wonder if those dreams were built from purpose or pressure. They look at relationships they protected and wonder if loyalty has quietly become self-harm. They look at their own identity and feel a distance from the person they used to be. This can feel terrifying because the mind loves certainty. Even painful certainty can feel safer than open truth. A person may stay in a life that hurts because at least it is familiar, but the dark night removes blind certainty. It does not allow the person to keep pretending that familiar means right. This is why it can feel like losing direction. The old map no longer works. The old answers no longer calm the heart. The old advice sounds empty. Even the things that once gave meaning may suddenly feel silent. This is not always because those things were wrong. Sometimes it is because the person's understanding is being forced to grow deeper. A belief that once lived on the surface must now be tested in the inner world. A dream that once came from ego must either become pure or fall away. A relationship that once survived on need must either become honest or end. A goal that once gave identity must now prove whether it has real soul behind it. The person is not just losing happiness, they are losing the meaning system that held their life together. That is why this stage can feel like inner ground disappearing. But questioning is not always destruction. Sometimes it is purification. Sometimes the mind must become unsure before the heart can become honest. Sometimes old certainty must collapse so deeper wisdom can enter. The dark night does not remove every answer because life is cruel. It removes weak answers because the person is ready for something more real. It teaches them that certainty without truth is another kind of prison, and slowly through all the confusion they become someone who is no longer satisfied with borrowed beliefs, borrowed dreams, or borrowed identity. They begin to search for what is real, even if it costs them the comfort of what was familiar. After the questioning begins, the person often reaches for rescue. This is natural. When the inner world feels unstable, the mind looks for something outside to hold on to. It may look for people, attention, advice, work, scrolling, food, romance, achievement, spiritual practices, or any distraction that can make the pain quieter for a moment. But one of the harsh lessons of the dark night is that many of the things that once worked no longer work. Distractions become weaker. Validation feels temporary. Compliments do not reach the deeper wound. Advice sounds too simple. Old habits lose their numbing power. The person may still try to run, but the running becomes exhausting. They may still try to attach themselves to someone else's presence, but even that presence cannot fully remove the emptiness inside. This is when the dark night reveals a difficult truth. No one can fully save you from yourself. People can support you. People can love you. People can sit beside you, but no one can enter the deepest room of your soul and do the work for you. This realization can feel lonely at first. It can feel unfair. The person may want someone to arrive with the perfect words, the perfect love, the perfect answer, the perfect sign. But the dark night often stays silent because its purpose is not to make the person dependent on another outside source. Its purpose is to bring the person back to themselves. This is where healing becomes less dramatic but more real. Healing is not always a sudden rescue. Sometimes healing is sitting with the pain without escaping into old patterns. It is breathing through the emptiness without filling it with people who cannot truly love you. It is letting the silence show you what your noise was hiding. It is learning to stay with yourself when nothing outside you feels certain. This does not mean the person becomes isolated or rejects help. It means they stop making other people responsible for saving a self they have abandoned. They begin to understand that external comfort is helpful, but inner presence is necessary, and slowly they stop chasing rescue. They stop looking for someone to complete the part of them that needs to be met by their own honesty. The dark night turns them inward, not as punishment, but as return. It brings them to the place they avoided for years. And in that place, they learn that the person they were waiting for may have been the self they kept leaving behind. When a person has passed through deep inner loss, they do not see the world the same way. Pain changes their eyes, not in a bitter way if they allow the pain to teach them well. It gives them discernment. Before the dark night, they may have believed beautiful words too quickly. They may have trusted charm. They may have accepted apologies without changed behavior. They may have mistaken intensity for love, attention for care, and closeness for safety. They may have ignored the quiet warnings in their body because they wanted the story to be true. But after the dark night, the person becomes harder to fool, not because they become cold, but because they become awake. They start noticing patterns. They listen less to promises and more to consistency. They stop being impressed by people who know how to speak deeply but do not live deeply. They can sense forced relationships. They can feel when connection is built on need rather than truth. They can tell when confidence is only a cover for insecurity. They can recognize comfort that keeps them asleep instead of helping them grow. This is one of the hidden gifts of the dark night. It sharpens the inner sense. It teaches the person that not everything soft is safe. Not everything familiar is healthy. Not every open door is meant to be entered. Not every person who wants access deserves intimacy. The person becomes calmer but sharper. They may speak less, but they observe more. They may forgive, but they no longer forget patterns. They may love deeply, but they no longer abandon themselves to prove it. Discernment is not paranoia. It is the ability to see clearly without needing to hate what you see. The dark night teaches this because it exposes how much suffering came from ignoring truth. The person remembers the cost of staying too long. They remember the cost of explaining away disrespect. They remember the cost of choosing fantasy over reality. So now when life presents them with a beautiful illusion, they pause. They watch. They wait. They let time reveal what words cannot. This does not make their life smaller. It makes their life cleaner. They begin to protect their energy without guilt. They begin to choose people whose actions feel peaceful, not people whose words feel exciting. And this is a powerful transformation. The person who once begged for signs now becomes the person who trusts the quiet knowing within them. The dark night also changes desire. This change can confuse people around them because the person may no longer want the same things. Before this season, attention may have felt important. Being chosen may have felt like proof of worth. Success may have felt like safety. Approval may have felt like love. Status may have felt like identity. A person may have chased recognition without knowing they were really chasing permission to feel enough. They may have wanted a loud life because silence made them face themselves. They may have wanted constant movement because stillness revealed pain. But after the dark night strips them down, their desires become quieter. Peace starts to feel more valuable than applause. A calm room feels better than a crowded room full of empty connection. A small, honest life feels better than a big life built on performance. Silence becomes less frightening. Simplicity becomes powerful. The person begins to understand that not every exciting thing is good for the soul. Some excitement is only anxiety in attractive clothing. Some attention is only noise. Some success is only a decorated cage. The dark night teaches this by showing the person what it feels like to lose inner stability. Once they know that kind of loss, they become careful about what they allow to disturb them. They stop giving unlimited access to people who bring confusion. They stop chasing conversations that leave them empty. They stop proving themselves to those who are committed to misunderstanding them. They stop measuring their value by how visible they are. This is not because they no longer care about life. It is because they now care about the right things. They still may want love, purpose, achievement, and connection, but they no longer want these things at the cost of their inner home. They begin to ask different questions. Does this bring peace or pressure? Does this relationship make me more honest or more afraid? Does this dream come from purpose or from the need to be seen? Does this path help me become real or only admired? These questions change everything. The person may become more private, more selective, more grounded, more difficult to impress. And there is power in that. The dark night turns them into someone who no longer needs the world to clap before they can feel alive. They begin to value the quiet strength of being at peace with themselves. One of the most beautiful and misunderstood transformations of the dark night is that it can make a person softer and stronger at the same time. Many people think pain either hardens the heart or destroys it, but deep inner transformation can create another path. It can make the person more compassionate without making them weak. It can make them more loving without making them available for mistreatment. It can make them more open without making them careless. The dark night does not have to turn someone cold. It can turn them real. After a person has sat with their own suffering, they often recognize suffering in others more quickly. They understand the quiet signs. They know what it means to smile while carrying heaviness. They know what it means to lose meaning and still get through the day. They know what it means to feel unseen. Because of this, their compassion becomes deeper. It is no longer shallow kindness that only appears when life is easy. It becomes a grounded kindness that understands pain without needing to fix everyone. But at the same time, the person develops boundaries. This is the part that makes them different. Before the dark night, they may have confused love with self-sacrifice. They may have believed being good meant being endlessly available. They may have stayed in places that harmed them because they did not want to seem selfish. But after the dark night, they understand what self-abandonment costs. They know that losing yourself for others does not create true love. It creates resentment, emptiness, and spiritual exhaustion. So their kindness becomes wiser. They can care without carrying what is not theirs. They can listen without absorbing every wound. They can forgive without reopening the door. They can love someone and still choose distance. This is not weakness, this is maturity. The dark night teaches them that a soft heart still needs a strong gate. It teaches them that compassion without boundaries becomes a slow form of self-harm. It teaches them that being deeply feeling does not mean being easily controlled. So the person becomes more balanced. They may cry more honestly, but they recover with more truth. They may feel more deeply, but they no longer collapse for every person who refuses to meet them with respect. They become steady in a way that does not need to look hard. Their strength becomes quiet. Their love becomes clean. Their presence becomes less desperate and more rooted. They are still human, they still feel pain, but they no longer break in the same places, because those places have already been faced, understood, and rebuilt with truth. The final transformation is not perfection, it is truth. This matters because many people misunderstand what awakening or deep healing is supposed to look like. They think the dark night turns a person into someone who never feels fear, never struggles, never doubts, and never gets hurt again. But that is not real transformation. That is another fantasy. The dark night does not remove your humanity. It removes the illusions that kept your humanity trapped. It does not turn you into a magical person who floats above pain. It turns you into someone more honest inside pain. Someone more grounded inside uncertainty. Someone less controlled by the old need to be approved, chosen, praised, or understood by everyone. The person who comes out of this season may still have wounds, they may still feel grief, they may still have moments when the past rises again. But they are no longer the same person who believed every fear. They are no longer the same person who worshipped every attachment. They are no longer the same person who confused chaos with passion or emptiness with love. They begin to live from a deeper center. This is authenticity. It is not being loud about who you are. It is being unable to keep living as who you are not. It is the quiet refusal to betray your soul for acceptance. It is the ability to say no without explaining your entire heart. It is the courage to let old identities die without rushing to replace them with another mask. It is choosing a life that matches your inner truth even if it looks smaller to other people. The dark night often takes away the things a person used to use as proof of identity. It may take away old confidence, old desires, old relationships, old dreams, or old certainty. But what remains begins to feel more real. The person starts noticing what actually matters to them. They start hearing their own inner voice again. They start recognizing the difference between fear and intuition. They start choosing peace over performance, depth over image, truth over comfort. This does not happen all at once. It happens slowly. It happens through days when they still feel unsure but choose honesty anyway. It happens through moments when they want to return to the old life but know it no longer fits. It happens when they stop asking, "How do I become someone impressive?" and start asking, "How do I become someone true?" That question changes the direction of everything. The dark night does not turn them into someone new in the shallow sense. It turns them into someone more deeply themselves. It strips away what was borrowed, forced, feared, and performed. And what begins to rise is not perfect, but it is real. The dark night of the soul is not there to destroy the real you. It only feels that way because it touches everything you once used to feel safe. It touches the mask. It touches the fear. It touches the old identity that was built from pain, approval, control, and survival. But beneath all of that, there is a part of you that was never meant to live in hiding. That is the part this darkness is trying to reveal. The version of you that breaks during this season is not the version that was truly free. It was the version that learned how to perform, how to please, how to stay small, how to accept less, and how to call that peace. The dark night removes what was built from fear, so something more honest can finally breathe. It may make you quieter, it may make you more selective, it may make you walk away from things you once begged to keep, but that does not mean you are losing yourself. It means you are losing the parts of yourself that were never fully yours. And when the old noise fades, when the false self can no longer lead, when the need to prove finally becomes too heavy to carry, a deeper truth begins to rise. So if this video gave you clarity, like it, share it with someone who is going through a difficult inner season, and subscribe to the channel for more calm and honest videos about healing, self-awareness, and transformation. Because the dark night of the soul does not turn you into someone new. It turns you into someone true.